Hi, everyone. This is Catherine Michelle, and I'm here with Greg Fernandez Jr. and Sophia, and we are here to discuss more about the telephone records of David and Kamel, as well as the search warrants and items that were removed from the home. Tonight, we're going to start off with the phone records, and we're going to start with David's because this is still a little confusing. And if anyone out there works for or has worked for a mobile phone company and can make sure that we're understanding what we're reading, please leave comments, jump in, send us emails or whatever. The main point that we're finding out here with David's records is, as we know, he made his last phone call on November 18th. And that one I still find suspicious because the only other call before that was November 3rd. So between the 3rd and the 18th, there was nothing else done. I'm trying to pull up my records here so we can all be on the same page.
Okay.
I have one laptop open and the other laptop open, and for whatever reason, one doesn't want to cooperate with me. Okay, that's his text log. Now let me go to his phone records. Yeah, okay. So what are the interesting things that you have found and have noticed, Sophia?
Well, I was looking at cell location, which is on the, help me out here, the right, far right side.
Yep.
And I noticed that after a specific date, it doesn't ever change. And the coordinates don't change, which means that he never left the area for that one cell tower. And it was pinging even after they passed away. So that would have to be near his neighborhood where his phone was. So I'm looking at, I guess, the 18th when he supposedly made that last phone call. After that, the location never changes, which would be November 18th, November 20th, on down. He never takes his phone out of the house. If we go by the narrative, the story, they talk about how Kamel and David were seen at Rainey's school the last day of school in December. He didn't take his cell phone there because it never left that neighborhood, or it never left the area where the cell tower was.
But these are just calls, though, right? These are just where the cell location was, not necessarily.
Well, the text messages also. It doesn't change after a specific date.
Which is, yeah, that's really interesting that the phone would remain right there. Because you're right, anybody who's going to be calling or texting, it's still going to be pinging off of that, the location of where it's at. And if it remains, obviously we're going to assume, and it is an assumption, but it's a pretty good assumption, the phone was left in the house because that's where the police found it the entire time. And so the pinging for the text messages and the calls that were coming in, even in January, that cell location is exactly the same as what it was before when he was making his phone calls, correct?
Yes, it is. And it's narrowed down to Minnesota and Apple Valley, but I wasn't able to get the exact location because for some reason my Google Earth was just not working for me in regards to that. But everything that I have learned in regards to cell phone and ping, anytime, like as you said, anytime a text message comes in or a phone call comes in, it will ping off of that cell tower. And that's exactly what the police and their search warrants requested. They wanted the information of where these phones were at because they were looking to see if a murder was planned. I mean, it says it right there in the search warrants. The wording, and I'll go get it.
Well, that's interesting. I haven't read the search warrants yet, so I'm way behind on that, but that is definitely some interesting wording.
I'm trying to find the exact area data store.
Do you know what page?
Cell tower dump. Registered with AT&T towers in a certain location at a certain time. AT&T calls this a cell tower dump. And they are looking for the longitude and the latitude for that cell tower.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Greg just pulled it up and it says cell tower location information. Yeah.
The geographical area of the crime. If you go a little bit further up, when cell phones make a call or receive a call, they will register with the cell tower in a geographical area of the crime.
Now, is that on the search warrant, or where are you reading that from? Okay,
that's on the search warrant.
Is that's before or that's after?
It's in the same paragraph. About 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences down.
Trying to find. Do you know what page that would be on?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back because I had sent you a screenshot of that, and that's what I was reading from was the screenshot.
I'm gonna try that, but it does say cell tower dump. That's what it specifically says.
Yes.
All right, I'm just gonna look that up.
I'll get the specific page for you.
I'm just gonna keep doing cell tower.
And it's all the same document.
All the same. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see, 28. I think it is 29. Page 29 of the search warrants. At least that was the first one that I came across. But it should be the same for all the rest of the phone numbers.
Okay, because, yeah, that page starts with the facts tending to establish your affiant, Michael, whatever, has been a licensed police officer. That's page 29 that Greg has. Is that the same one?
28, 29. Yes. And it is after your affidavit.
There's AT&T.
Here we go.
Oh, there you go.
When your affidavit is aware.
Yeah, your affiant is aware through. Don't go too fast. Hold it.
Sorry.
Training.
Sorry.
Yeah,
should I go back a little bit?
No. You're right there. You're perfect. Through training and experience that individuals frequently call and/or text message each other regarding criminal activity during and/or after an event has occurred. Your affiant is also aware that a high percentage of the population regularly uses and carries a cellular phone with them during their day-to-day activities. And whoever typed this up, day-to-day is hyphenated. When cell phones make a call, it drives me crazy. When cell phones make a call or receive a call, they will register with a cellular tower in the geographical area of the crime. Your affiant is aware that there are many cell phone providers and resellers of cell phones. Your affiant is aware that all of these cell phones operate on 4 major cell phone networks in the state of Minnesota. These networks are Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, and AT&T. Your affiant has spoken to AT&T. AT&T did tell your affiant that they were able to provide law enforcement records of all cell phones that registered with AT&T towers in a certain location at a certain time. AT&T calls this a cellular tower dump. Wow. So they were looking exactly for that, and when they found that information that the cell phones didn't move, and especially, since they were subpoenaing that specific thing and saying that's what they were looking for. And then the phone records show that his cell phone didn't leave that geographical area of his home since November, and they didn't question that? I mean, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that they looked at the records. I mean...
Well, yeah, and I agree with you, because when we're looking at these phone records, and this is something where anybody out there, if you can help us understand, but if I'm reading this wrong, please correct us. But on the screen right now, you will see item number 60, and then you see two phone numbers, one with the 00 next to it. And then item number 61, the same call but written differently, but with an F next to it. So what I am reading this as per, not as per, because that is not proper grammar. What I am reading this is per the instructions that AT&T gave us, stating that the one with the 00 is the originating phone. So the 507 number, we'll just say 0434, then dialed 4890, and then that number terminated at 4003. Oh no, I'm sorry. It forwarded to 4003, then terminated at the 4890. Down below you have the 4003 forwards to, yeah, somebody please help us understand this. But anyway, there are a lot of phone calls. Yes, could you highlight? Thank you. That works. Yeah, with all of these, you will see the number that ends in 4003 associated with a lot of the phone calls between David, Kamel, and Kate Crowley. Now, why is that? Why are a lot of the phone calls being forwarded through or to this number? Doesn't make any sense. We can't figure out, you know, why the number, why the forwarding, and the person associated with this, what was their connection to the Crowley family? Because, you know, as you see Greg highlighting these right here, there are a lot of calls associated with this.
Are you there?
Did we lose Catherine? I think we might have lost her. I think we lost her there. Can you still hear me? Test 1, 2.
Okay, yeah, we're back. I had a temporary glitch with my power, but we're back now. And we were talking about the 4003 number that is associated with both David and Kamel. This number is used as a forwarding number. This number is called, and this number...
Could it be a voicemail?
No.
See, here's the reason why I think it might be, is because I haven't found anywhere where a call is made from this number. Everything is cycling through it, and this number is eating it up and spitting it out. But I haven't seen anywhere where this number is making a call. So if you guys have that, if you can find that.
I do, and let me see if I can, it might take me a second to find it. Okay. I can't remember if it was on David's or Kamel's. Oh boy, yeah, this will take me a second, but yeah, sitting in the dark all of a sudden kind of threw me for a loop.
Do you have candles or something going on over there?
Well, I didn't have any lit. I was just sitting at the table. Next thing I know, it's like pitch black, and I'm like, what happened to my electricity?
But it's back now.
Yes, it's all back now. Thank goodness. Oh. And do you think the dog noticed? No. He just like going, okay, this is cool. Okay, let me see. Where is that? I could have sworn.
I didn't see it on David's. I'm going to look at Kamel's. But I think it's just a forwarding number, which does lead me to think it's...
Okay, you know what? Yeah, okay, you were right. I thought for sure I had typed it in as a number that actually made a call at one point, but I am not finding that now, not even where I typed. So, yeah, it was always forwarded through or to that number. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay.
If you're looking at this page right here, page 21 of 30 of Kamel's newest number, one thing I was trying to understand is the cell location. Why is there so much data here? It's a lot of data.
Yeah. Sophia?
Well, when I was talking with Craig in regards to it, I had assumed because they had their calls or one phone number forwarded to the other phone number that they were leaving one phone at home. So it was pinging off of one, forwarding, and being picked up on the receiving call or the receiving phone. But when we looked at the search warrants, they only took 2 cell phones out of that house. So that theory was blown out the window. So I have no answer for it. None.
Well, it's a call, cause it's a call from Kamel's number to this 4346, whatever that is, whoever that is. That's probably on your list, Catherine. 12-3.
Yeah, I'm looking. Okay, where are we at? I was looking at my other computer. I'm sorry. 4346. Who's 4346?
Yeah, I don't think
it's
on
page 18 again.
I'm looking at your spreadsheet. That's on page. Yeah.
Because I have all of their names on there. I looked up every single phone number and associated it with a person that they knew. So
this one I don't. Yeah, well, I'm looking at that. Oh, maybe I'm looking at the wrong.
Oh, keep going. Go to the next. No, go to the next one over. It'll tell you the name.
Okay.
Next column to the right. Okay, that's the Banfield Pet. Yeah.
They're calling the pet hospital.
Yeah.
On 12-3. And there's several of those, right?
There are a couple of them. Yep.
And that was with Kamel's phone?
Yes.
Thank you.
And if I remember correctly, I do believe that Banfield did call her back too as well. I think she had to call him and leave a message, and then they called her. Well, I'm assuming left a message, and then they called her back.
So on 12-5, I'm going to look at the 12-5 record here. Okay, that's her second call. There should be another one. Let's get it. 12-8, not there.
Then maybe
that's a long call, 4 minutes.
To the Banfield, is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
And the other one is 9 minutes.
Yeah,
22 seconds.
And I find it interesting the timing of that phone call, the beginning of December. You know, I mean, did anybody say anything about Paleo being sick? Because that's where I take my pets, is to Banfield here, when they're a good vet place to go. They have great doctors and everything, great veterinarians. So, I mean, was something wrong with Paleo? Did anybody in the family ever mention anything?
That's a long call.
Yeah, 13 minutes total to a veterinarian.
And then another on, this might be a different one here.
Is it possible she just could have been on hold?
Well,
are they that good?
I mean,
they keep everybody on hold? Probably.
I'm just playing devil's advocate on this one.
Well, it's a possibility.
You're right. It is a long call.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, That's interesting. In December, a call is made to Banfield, and then shortly after that, they disappear or are killed or whatever it is that happened to them at this point. Because these phone records are leaving me totally confused because, you know, with David's last phone call being November 18th or the 3rd, depending on which way you want to look at it, and then his mom is calling him constantly several times after that, but he makes, you know, no phone calls. And it's like, why? And his cell phone remains in the same place. It doesn't move. And you said, what time was that? Was November what?
I believe 18th. I need to go back and click on his records.
Okay.
I'm going right now.
So a lot of that is like all about the same time. All communication from David ceases in November. And the police didn't see a problem with that, or at least I see nothing in any of the records where they question that silence. You know, that's 2 full months before the bodies were found. That's a long time.
I don't believe it changes after, I gotta scroll back. 11/20/2014. And I'm just scrolling down to double check.
Okay, so you do show some movement between the 18th, which is still the same time frame. That's still, you know, where he basically is missing incognito, whatever you want to call it, in November, not at Christmas time, which is what they're trying to say, or New Year's. It's like a whole month before that.
Well, what about this one on Thanksgiving, right? This is
no, there are no phone calls, texts, or anything on Thanksgiving at all. To nobody.
12/26/2014.
Let me see. Find 12/26. Are you looking at David's?
David's, yeah.
Okay, let me go there. I'll pull down here.
So at 11/26/2014, not sure, it's only a 58-second call. It looks like it's from David to 4781.
Yeah, and the reason why let's see, hold on, who's it to? I'm trying to find out. Oh yeah, to Michael Moran, the muffler shop. But I know Camille was talking to them. Let me see.
And that's why I kind of think the other thing that I also think is that David was using both phones. He was controlling both phones. Just because a phone was in Camille's name doesn't mean that she was actually using that phone. Now, that's until you look at the actual records of her phone calls and who she's calling, right? And then there are several times where you can see that she's calling people that she knows, or that phone number is calling people that she knows, not necessarily people that David knows.
Right, and that's what I found to be true for the vast majority of her calls. So I would not, by looking at her phone records, I would not assume David had any kind of control over her phone. She had it. She used it. She took it with her. Because, you know, she made a lot of calls to her friends, especially, you know, one in particular, and several to clients, and I don't want to put their names out there because they might not want their name out there, and I have them on the spreadsheet, but yeah. Can you go down to on the next page, Greg?
Yes.
This one stops at 12:16. I want to see the 12. Oh, what happened at 12:26?
For David's?
Yeah. What happened? Oh, maybe my screen just wasn't showing it. Maybe because right now they're in January. So now that those are texts, go back up.
Those are texts, yeah. So you want these, but these start. This is what it's right at the bottom.
Yeah. See, that stops at number 59 on 12/16, and then the next one starts in January.
Right, but on Kamel's newest one is where you probably what you're looking for, right? This. the 12:15, and then the 12:15. Let's go. No, and then 1:08.
Yeah, because her
one.
cell phone tends to go silent more toward the middle to the end of December, where she stops communication. But David is in November, so it's like there's a whole month difference. And most of the phone calls that Kamel has on her phone, other than the muffler shop, are either to people I'm assuming are her clients or to her friend. Everything else, I mean, I see 1, 2, 3 calls to a muffler shop, and one number which I couldn't trace at all, so I figured it was probably a spam, because people get spam calls on their cell phones. And then the school, and then the rest looks like clients. So yeah, she goes silent relatively quickly. December 15th, I think,
Yeah, that's what it looks like. That's the last one.
That's the call I show as well. And then the 8th,
then it goes to 1:08.
Yeah, then the 8th is when the school starts trying to call her. Her client then starts to try to call her. The school tries to call her. So the school actually does make several phone calls. I thought they didn't call at all, but they actually made 1, 2, 3, it looks like 4 separate phone calls. 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 separate phone calls to the family. Why they didn't come out there, I have no idea, but at least I felt better knowing that they at least called.
Oh yeah, definitely. And she had just started too, right? She was only, a couple months in from September, possibly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because usually after Christmas break is when they start the second semester. However they do it anymore. But yeah, usually school starts to Christmas break, and then after Christmas break to the end of the year is how we used to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. What if there was a call? Remember that incident that happened in October, I believe it was, with Rania?
I do not see.
There should be a call. Should be a call to the school, from the school, to one of these phones.
I think it was the week of the 16th, wasn't it? A lot happened that week.
Okay, I only had the phone records for her new phone. That would have been on her old phone. Do you have those, Greg?
I think it would have still been on there because it's.
Because you see right here? Yeah, the 22nd. So it's not on there. Yeah, okay. If it was the 16th, it would be on her previous phone.
Okay.
Because I did not get a chance to log all those yet on the spreadsheet.
Okay, so here's Kamel's old phone. 10-1, 10-9. What's the number that we're looking for?
We are looking for...
Should be an originating number.
A 5183, ending in 5183. 303 5183.
Okay. 5183.
Okay, keep going. Okay, I don't see it. I don't see one there on the 16th, 17th, or the 18th.
Yeah, I mean, it could have came from a different line. Every teacher probably has their own number, too, so...
It would have been the same area code, though, which is 952, and I'm not seeing a 952. Oh, wait, here we go on... Okay, that's the 27th, which we have.
There's a 952. Yeah, this one here.
Let me double check.
Okay.
95. Oh wait, that's a 0113 952 239.
And it's to Kamel.
Yes, I don't know whose number that is. But anyway, I mean, anyone out there, if you are looking at this and you can explain to us what these, how they are logging these calls with the 00 and then the F underneath, and then the 2 numbers and the terminating number. You have 2 originating numbers, 1 terminating number. Please explain that, because this is kind of where things get real mucky. And once we get this figured out for sure, I think it's going to answer a whole lot of questions. Is there anything else you guys want to say about this?
I always thought it was originated number and it was forwarded, but with that other number in there, it's just odd, especially since it's showing up on David's and it's showing at random times with Kate too. So
right, and that's what I found really interesting is like, why is this number associated with all three of them? And it's ridiculous. It should not be.
So where is it? Where do we see Kate's number? 0434.
She is
on David's. Okay, I see it. I see it down here.
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at that. So she's calling David at 2:08 a.m. All of this, so 12 and 13 are the same, part of the same call.
Yes.
Okay.
Which I find the time frame of when these phone calls are made too really weird. Why are they calling at such late hours? The hours of these phone calls, I don't know, they're questionable. Like, who calls their family at 2:08 in the morning? Well, obviously Kate did, but why?
Probably me.
Like me.
Yeah.
Well, the story that was told on the internet was that Kate was an alcoholic and she was calling David and Camille at really weird hours. I believe that's in the email that between Camille and Allison.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Camille wasn't picking up, or Camille or David were picking up Kate's numbers anymore whenever she called.
Yeah, and I looked at that of when that complaint was made versus when the calls were actually made by Kate, and they didn't quite match up either. I'm trying to look at my notes right now. My dog is being a pain in the hiney side again.
So I guess the next logical question is, what from the narrative is true?
Yeah, I would really like to know that. Let's see. Yeah, because here where they're saying where Dan Sr. says on November 27th, I text them Happy Thanksgiving, no response. And we see right here on the phone records and on the text records, no such thing was done. And let me see, where's that part about the mom?
It is in the. It's also in the redacted, correct?
Yeah, I think so, but I'm not sure if I printed out that particular page. But I find it interesting too that both Dan Sr. and his notes, as well as Allison, make the comments of "We're wondering if you were dead." It's like, really?
So is it really bad writing for foreshadowing, or are they all psychic in the family?
Right? Right?
I mean, I'm not trying to be snide. It's just...
Oh, Greg, can you stop there real quick on the one?
Up here?
Right here. Yes, right there. It's perfect. Okay, because you see the date, item number 50, 11/21. And you see this is really when Kate starts to make a lot of the phone calls, which is on the 21st. Allison wrote this email to Camille on the 20th, saying, Mom is weeping and convinced that you're dead because you're not answering the phone and she's trying to get a hold of you. Now, she wrote that a day before the phone calls kicked in. How did she know? How did she know that was going to happen? So that's what I found. Yeah, that's what I found interesting as far as that goes, because, you know, when you start comparing what they give as a timeline and their emails with the timelines on it, the dates and the times, and they don't match the phone records, something is wrong.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
Yep, so keep that in mind, everybody. Allison wrote an email to Kamel on November 20th, Thursday, November 20th at 2:01 in the afternoon. And she's talking about how their mom is constantly calling and crying because she thinks they're dead, and why are they not answering her. But when you look at the phone records, you don't see Kate starting to call until November 21st, the next day after the email is written. That is interesting. Do you want to head over to the search warrants now? Because we have a lot to cover there.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Flip into that document.
And you two take it over, because this I have not read. I want to learn from you what you found out.
I'm still going through it. I mainly was going over for the phones because I was trying to figure out exactly what the officers were requesting, what they legally could search for. And it turns out they could search for deleted information, not only messages for the phone, text messages, voicemails, information like that. But for the computers, too, they could look at social media and like instant messenger, Facebook Messenger, that kind of thing. They could look for deleted messages through there, too. Their search warrant covered the gambit, basically.
Covered everything.
Mm-hmm. So, for anybody saying, oh, what if David deleted these messages or deleted these call logs, the police would have been able to find it because their search warrants were covering this information. They would have dug in there. They had the programs to look for this information. I just don't believe that the calls were made. They put proof in there of the messages that, for instance, we were just going over with Kamel and Allison. They put that proof in there. They put text messages in there. Where's the message that supposedly happened for the pot that happened on December 19th or 16th, excuse me? We just don't have that information. It was never put into the police report.
Yeah.
The call,
that is a big thing. Mm-hmm.
It's a problem.
Well,
and when we start seeing all these other issues rising up, like the calls not lining up with what's said in the police report, it's a problem.
I do think those calls were actually made. I do. But now you're forcing me to find the proof, though.
You're always asking us for proof.
That's right.
But
now I gotta go.
I welcome you to find it, please, because Catherine and I have been racking our brains on this one.
I'll find it. I think it's out there. I don't think they would say that. I mean, I don't understand where they got that unless it was from an informant or something, why they would just say that all of a sudden, hey, we were told this. Okay, well, they go and they find that it's true. If these records, if the phone records that we have don't show that those calls ever took place, but you have people that are saying that the calls did, you have officers that follow up on it, and the calls, the person that they say made the call, it turns out to be true, then that to me is a strong indication that did happen.
Well, okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. My computer went out again for a second. But when the phone records, you have to, I don't care what people say. You can have 30 people telling me that they saw the moon turn green, but that doesn't mean that the moon turned green. And they're saying that David called Chris Peck in December looking for pot. The only phone call that I found on all of the entire phone records was made to Chris Peck on November 18th, the last call that David made, was the one and only phone call to Chris Peck. And then I do believe Chris Peck sent a text to David. Let me double check that.
Yeah, saying do you have any something like that, right?
On November 12th.
Oh, okay.
And yes, that was it. There was a text on November 12th from Chris Peck to David, and then David made a call to Chris Peck on the 18th of November. And that's it. That is the only communication I found between those two in 3 months of phone records. So when people say he was his pot dealers, I don't think so. The people I know who buy pot don't buy it once every 3 months.
I mean, you have Chris Peck who's saying that.
I don't care, Chris Peck. I will take him on. No. Because according to the phone records, that didn't happen. And what? He must have some really lousy stuff if somebody's only going to buy from him once in 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Okay, and to also rebuke the people who are saying that there was a burner phone. The search warrants don't cover burner phones. They only cover 2 cell phones that were taken from that house. Mm-hmm. So there were no burner phones found at the house at all. Right. I need to get that in there because a lot of people have suggested, well, what if there was a burner?
Yeah,
or a prepaid?
Yeah, and I don't understand that at all. I mean, they had enough phone numbers they had to deal with. They're going to add 2 more. They had 4, and now they're going to do 6. That just didn't make sense.
Well, it's possible that the dog ate that too.
There you go. Problem solved.
There you go.
We're just going to blame everything on poor Paleo here.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes, if he could digest all those bones, he could digest metal.
Yeah. He probably cleaned up some of the crime scene, too.
There you go. That's it. It didn't leave any paw prints. He was perfect. He's a great little house cleaner.
Yeah, he ate the gloves and everything else.
Yeah.
Oh, this poor dog. He's got an iron stomach.
He does. And he was thin and dehydrated after all that eating. It must have been the cell phone. That's what did it.
Yeah, and I would say...
I hope everybody can see how ludicrous this is, right?
It really is. It really is. But we can see what they're asking for. We can see what these search warrants say. And one of the things that was very important, I thought, was these writing documents. They're looking for anything. You know, they're supposed to go through all of this stuff, anything, everything that's there. And unless somebody is going to say, I mean, and we have that, people are saying that the police miss things, that the investigators miss things. I have a hard time going with that, too.
Well, I just don't believe that either. I mean,
yeah, and
they took out everything.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
But right here where it says they're looking for writings, documents, to identify motive, preparation, or mindset of the suspect at the time of the shooting.
Right.
Now, what did the detective find when he did all of his investigation of all the computers and all the writings? No motive whatsoever. Nothing.
That's it.
And he didn't find any imaginary journals either.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, once again, not trying to be snarky. It's just the truth.
Yeah,
There's no proof.
And I think that's why it's so important for people to look at these 87 pages here, and you can see exactly what they were searching for. You can compare that to what they found. You can compare that to what they took in and to what they did with it. And you can see how much data that they went through. They spent a lot of time going through this data. No motive. Nothing there. Nothing there to show them why David Crowley is guilty. That doesn't mean that people can take these things and try to create a motive, try to act like they know better than what the cops do, and create some type of motive, but that doesn't make it true. And so I think it's very important for people to really go through this before we start talking about what the police missed. I don't think they missed anything except for the bullet hole and a bullet that rolled out. But they found those 2 days later. I don't believe that they missed any writing or anything on the computers all of this stuff here, I don't believe that they missed anything that gave them motive. Even what they missed, the 2 bullets that they missed did not give them motive either.
No, because they still can't even tie that really to anybody.
Right.
You know,
right.
it has a little bit of David's DNA, but definitely not his blood, brain matter, or hair, so that they can't even prove that it was the bullet that killed him. So they basically, at this point, they do not have the bullet that killed David. And if he shot himself, it would have been there.
That's right.
And, you know, with everything that they pulled, I mean, they're very detailed in what they're looking for here in these warrants. And then the one detective who actually specializes in that, so he would know what he was doing. And I always say his name wrong, so I'll call him Detective K, because I butcher his name. But, you know, he spent a lot of time going through all of these devices, and he came back and said, I can find no motive. So what led them down the path with no motive? David goes silent in November. Kamel goes silent in December. Bodies are found in January. No motive. And people who are saying that they contacted them is not backed up by any of the data that they have or any of the records that were provided to them. Why did they not continue to go forward with that?
And that's when you have to ask yourself, is it a cover-up? Was this all staged? I mean, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
Why weren't just logical questions asked about this case?
Yeah, and you said a mouthful, because I really don't see any questions being asked whatsoever. They did go to the neighbors and did the little, oh, did you hear anything type of thing. You know, it's kind of, and I see that as a CYA. And, you know, did you talk to the neighbors? Well, yeah. But they didn't even really follow up with any of that. You know, it took them, when they couldn't get a hold of, you know, the neighbor was a Brett Millay. And so they just kind of let that roll off until they finally found him one day. And it's like, there was no effort put into this case at all.
So they ruled it a murder-suicide within 2 hours, basically. Is that what we...
No. They're not ruling it a murder-suicide.
Okay, so I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
No. We're going to go back and forth on this, Sophia.
No.
Greg has one report that goes within 2 weeks.
I have the police report. I have the secret document, yeah.
Yeah, but again, the reporter who the police never countered said that the police chief himself said within 2 hours. Because it was that report was actually written very shortly after the murders. So it definitely was not written 2 weeks after the murders. So I'm going to go with the 2 hours. So
but the detectives didn't even arrive at the crime scene.
But
until after 2 hours.
When you look at those news reports, we have to look at how often they actually update the same one. Meaning they could have updated it later. It could have started out where it's just, it's, you know, we don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And then later on it was updated to where, well, they think it's a double murder-suicide, which they publicly stated 1 day later. But that, just because they stated that in public doesn't mean that that was the first time that they thought about it. So sometime between whenever they find the bodies and whenever it's made public, we don't really know exactly when they said, okay, we think this is a double murder-suicide, the public is not at risk, everybody's safe, blah, blah, blah. It would be very important to get some clarification on that. But that's treating it as a double murder-suicide, not concluding it as a double murder-suicide.
Well, you think that there's a difference.
I do.
But most of the time there is not.
I do. I think there is a difference.
Again, you would think so, but that doesn't always mean that there is. There are times when they decide, and it's sad, and most people don't want to hear it or believe it, but they predetermine what the case is going to be before they even step inside the scene.
And there is a lot of proof that would help back that up.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely see that. There is a lot that would show, well, if they really wanted to do a thorough investigation, they would have done this, they would have done that, they would have looked up, saw the bullet hole, blah, 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 all that. That's another reason, that's another reason to think that how quickly they came to this theory and they started moving with that theory. I think once they go ahead.
No, and then they just didn't ask any other questions in regards to this case. The phone records, the DNA, everything else that we've come across. They didn't look any deeper. And that's very, very disheartening.
Well, I would say we don't have any documentation that shows that they didn't look deeper. I'm not necessarily certain 100% that they didn't. At some point, they have to look for motive from other people, right? I mean, in their conclusion, their whole conclusion is based around this fact, their theory, their opinion, that because they couldn't find that anybody else could have done this, that David Crowley must be guilty. That would lead me, first of all, to think that they did something. They were looking at the possibility that maybe somebody else was involved, right? No?
We have unknown DNA at the crime scene. We have a slider that's open, well, partially cracked. We have a phone that never left after November 20th. I mean,
yeah, you have three dead bodies.
Mm-hmm.
You don't walk into a house and think one of those dead bodies killed the other two dead bodies, looking the way that those dead bodies did.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they came out and said that the public is not in danger, and then they just conducted the case from then on as a murder-suicide, and then didn't ask deeper questions as to who this unknown DNA was for.
Right.
Or why his phone never left, or, I mean, just, there's so many questions.
Yeah, well, and let's go back to, when they went silent.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even look at that, and it's so blatant on his phone records. You can't miss it. But here, yeah, I'm looking at this news article again, and it was published originally January 19th, but updated on November 16th. But I think they updated it with the in a dark place, because that's when they start to, or down farther, is when they start to talk about. Actually, I should maybe send an email. I had never thought to contact Nick and find out when it was said to him that the bodies, they had made it within 2 hours. Despite the grisly scene, investigators concluded within 2 hours that David Crowley was the one who pulled the trigger of the .40 caliber Springfield handgun found next to his body. So, yeah.
Well, there it is. You got the guy right there. You got him at least saying it. Yeah, it would be good to follow up and see within 2 hours.
Yeah, and I thought for sure there was another article that had the same wording in it. But,
well, that could have been by him or somebody taking his, using him as a source.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to. Yeah, I was trying to find out if it was somebody copying his report or if it was a different one. I'll have to go, because I go and look at that again, because the one I remember reading was the police chief's, whatever how you say his name,
mm-hmm.
was the one who said within 2 hours, and which is different wording than what this is saying right here. So it's obviously written in two separate places. But I'll have to find it.
Well, yeah, and I would say Nick needs to be contacted on that. Nick Ferrara?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so he needs to be contacted on that to find out why he wrote that within 2 hours. And does he still stand by that? Sometimes he'll try to back off, but if he put it in writing already, it's hard to back off from it.
Let me see something. Yeah, because I know at one point I did talk to Nick, but I'm trying to see if I remember if I even asked that particular question. I'm not sure I did. Okay, no, I didn't ask him that one. I did not ask that particular question. So I think I will try to send him another one and ask him if that's what he remembers being told exactly.
Awesome.
Because he's always been, you know, very upfront and always willing to answer any questions, you know, that I've ever had. He's answered them. So I'll send him that.
That's great.
That's great. Yeah, because that's a big deal right there.
Yeah.
2 hours, impossible. And why he didn't follow up on that, or maybe he was like 2 hours. Well, that's kind of like you must know something that we don't know, and maybe it was because everybody thought that they had a suicide note. There were notes mentioned, but we didn't know at the time, and some of these early news media ran with it that, well, because there was a note there, that it was a note written by David that was a suicide note. It's like they were just running to some story that did not exist, looking for just another story for their local newspaper.
Yeah.
They chose the wrong one. This is not one of those that's just going to easily go by the wayside.
Nope, it's not. They're going to be looking into everything. And I do believe that this information that we've covered should be handed over to the private investigator, too.
Well, I think as long as the private investigator has the same data, it's important to let the private investigator just do whatever they do and just, you know, I mean, we're all looking at the same data, so at some point the private investigator is going to see this stuff, and we just want to make sure, and, you know, because we just want to let the private investigator do his job and not be influenced by anything. That's why I don't want to know anything. I just want to, whatever, until the final thing is, until the private investigator says, okay, I'm done, here's what I have, here's what I found, here's what you can do with it. Then I think it's going to get very interesting. The search warrants too, it's like, I'm on page 8 right now, and
Okay.
they're mentioning, they go up to item 53. So they stop at the bullet. Actually, I think it's item 52 that they stop at in the first set. Now they go up to 55. Now these are different items. So. And that's the other thing.
Well, they were taking the blood samples.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so they have reads.
There's 3 different lists, 3 itemized lists too. Go ahead.
Page 8.
Yeah, I'm looking for the blood.
Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about. Okay. This is in reference to the guns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's just a different number on there. I thought you were talking about, there was a different area that's on the property, the evidence that they took from the house.
Mm-hmm.
And in those pages, they go from one bullet to the blood samples that they took from the bodies, and then it goes to the other bullet that they found in the attic. So that's what I thought you were referring to, and I apologize for the confusion.
No, they do have those too. there are those where it's like, I think the first one stops at 52, then the second one has 53, and then all of a sudden 57 is there. And they just, like, if people who don't really understand that these were found at different times, they wouldn't even know it. They would just think that everything was found at the same time. That's why those have been two of the biggest things to really get people to kind of second guess what the police told us, because you have all these strange things. And those, to me, are just two of the biggest ones. I think when we get into the phone records, into the financial records, into all of these other records, it kind of, there's more questions for some of this stuff. But with the search warrants and all that, I think it really helps us understand what they were looking for, what they had a search warrant for. And there's a reason why they chose these things. It wasn't just, well, this is standard, let's go for this. No. There was a lot going on. Reading these search warrants, it seemed like there was a lot going on that led them to want all of this stuff, to want these search warrants, to what they were looking for, and how vague some of this stuff is for what they're looking for. All writings, all computer data, all phone numbers, all of that stuff. Some of the stuff that they got, like Chris Peck, the whole Chris Peck thing is like, somebody had to have told them that. Where's the detective work or the police work that got them to where they found out that Chris Peck had called David Crowley, if that was true, or David Crowley had texted him?
And see, I just, I'm beginning to wonder if the police just believed them,
But who was feeding? I mean, this goes back to the thing that somebody was feeding them this early on. Who was feeding the police so much stuff? And we could go back to the very, to when the bodies were actually found. People are feeding things to the police on and on and on from the very start.
Right.
Now, whether that's purposely or whether it's just because that's how they are, that's a whole other thing. But, I mean...
Yeah, because one look at these cell records, if they had looked at them and looked at the names, yes, it took me a while to do it, and Sophia too. Without her help, I wouldn't have been, it'd take me a whole lot longer to finish it. But, if they had even begun to look at the cell phone records and then looked at the notes from the people who were talking to them, they would have known right away it wasn't matching up.
Or maybe they know something we don't know. I mean, there's no doubt that they looked at these records, right? I don't have any doubt that they actually went through them, and so they should have seen a lot of this stuff. Maybe they found the answers that we don't have. Whatever those answers were, again, it doesn't lead them to think that David Crowley is guilty if they found those answers. But there's still a lot of weird things like that with these phone records. I mean, to me, that's been the biggest thing that I've been just, having nightmares about, just trying to figure out what am I looking at here?
Yeah, and you're too kind-hearted, Greg. You give them a whole lot more credit than I'm willing to, because, when I type this out, and as I'm looking at each line, and then I remember what is written or told to the police by others, I pull that out of the police reports, and I look at these phone records, and they don't match up. Then that tells me that obviously the police did get the records because we had them from the phone company, but did they actually look at them? I doubt it. Because if they did, to me, that would be a blatant closing of their eyes and not investigating the case. And if they
just a simple follow-up call, would have done.
Yes.
Say, hey, because it would have been in their supplements. Called such and such back to double check on the dates. Maybe they had something wrong, but we don't see any supplements being updated or anything.
Correct.
So I have to question it, just like Catherine was saying.
Correct. I see them not doing their due diligence in checking out the information they were given. Now, maybe they felt that they could trust who was talking to them. I don't know. I'm not saying that the police did it out of malice. I'm just saying it happened. They didn't check it out. But why? Don't know.
Is it possible that they checked it out and just didn't find anything?
Well, we're looking at it and we're finding it. So I don't believe that.
But you're not finding anything that would help prove David Crowley is guilty, and that's all they would be ordered to look for. Nothing else, right?
Right, exactly. I find nothing
that
David is guilty, but I find a lot of questionable responses from the people who spoke to them. When you have people who say, you know, hey, I got a call, or I text them, or, you know, we talked to them on this certain date, or he contacted me to buy weed. Yeah, right. When only 2 phone calls in a matter of 3 or 4 months. Well, 1 phone call and 1 text. Yeah, I don't buy it. They dropped the ball. Again, whether it was on purpose or maybe they just, by the time they got the cell phone records, maybe they felt they had their proof and just said, okay, we're just going to add this to the case file, but we're not going to go through it. I don't know. That's supposition on my part, totally.
That can't be, because they have these documents. They had these by February 2015, so they had them one month later.
Okay.
They had plenty of time to go through this stuff.
Okay, so why? And then my question back to them is, why did they not? Because it is plain as day. There's a huge issue with these phone records and what the narrative is on what happened. When David, again, when he goes silent in November, and his body, quote unquote body, is found in January, that should be a huge red flag to the police.
Sure, but at the same time, you have people telling them why without them. Maybe they asked them, but maybe people are offering things of telling them why they went dark, why they went silent, why they weren't talking with anybody, et cetera, which a lot of that I think has been. I don't buy it. You know, I'm not buying that David went silent, that he was distancing himself because they were planning on killing himself. Or planning on, he was, going into a dark place and he killed everybody. But
and I agree. I mean, I agree. I don't see this where he stops communication on his cell phone as any indication of that, because all of his writings and everything else up to that point or whatever was always positive, always looking forward. But my point is the police had on hand their notes from the people they supposedly interviewed, where they gave them specific information, and that information is not corroborated by the evidence that they got from other legitimate places like AT&T.
Right, but they didn't even follow up on. They had a simple question with Chris Klein, and they had David's dad saying that he was not in the house with Chris Klein on January 19th.
Correct.
And they did not follow up on that. They had no interest in following up on a phone call. It's much less likely they're going to follow up on phone records. So maybe you're right. Maybe they didn't go through this stuff.
Well, yes, because when you look at the cell phone records again with Chris Klein, I think I found 1 call, 1. And then, that does not tell me that they were best buds and that he really knew that family. And so why is he in the house?
I would also. Well, did they find any social media activity, anything like that too? Because that was a big thing. That was a big thing. Phones weren't. Nobody was really using the phone, especially landlines. Cell phones, maybe, but it was a lot of social media activity. If you look at David Crowley, he was more active on social media than he was, on these phone records. If you look at the phone records, you might think that he wasn't making a lot of calls, distancing himself, but if you look at the social media activity, it sounds like he was active, publicly active.
Why isn't that part of the police report then?
It's not
They
part
just
of the
pick and
police
choose.
reports, but it is part of the police data. So if you go back to the 485 pages of BCA data that Dan Hinnon first got, it has almost all of David's social media activity just on Facebook, I think, going back to 2007, maybe 2009.
Yeah, and a lot of that is totally irrelevant.
It is.
It just doesn't make much sense to the case at all. And why would they do that?
Yeah, but they also have a screenshot of a post that was taken out. So they know that there was at least one post from David Crowley's account that was removed. In that same area, they have a profile photo of Sean Wright.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that they didn't know this. It's one more lead that is just not followed up on. But this is different. This is not just he said, she said. This is somebody taking out a post for a specific person.
And that was after they died, correct?
That was after they died, because it is not part of the data of the Facebook records that the police show in these documents, but they have it separately. That's weird. That's odd.
Yeah, so right there they know that somebody's going in and deleting stuff, and that, again, is another red flag.
Yeah. It is.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's unbelievable. Again. It's like the more questions we get answered, 1,000 more pop up.
Absolutely. And this case is it's one of those conundrums.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to figure it out, but there's just no answer, and you just go over in a circle over and over. It's starting to give me a headache.
Well, it's going to be a long time, I'm sure, before those headaches stop, until we can get some clear answers on some of these simple questions we have here.
Yeah. You're right. Pace yourself.
Pace yourself. That's right. Go through these documents. Pace yourself. Don't burn out. You don't have to go through everything. Go through whatever you think you can get to, and whatever will lead you to find the answers. And that's why it's been such a blessing to have both of you and so many people going through this stuff, because you can't just have a couple people doing it. We need as many people as we possibly can get to look through these documents if they're real people. We're not looking for fake people. We're not looking for people that are just trying to stir up stuff, or even people that are treating this like entertainment. This is not entertainment. There's nothing entertaining about this. This is not to get yourself over. It's not for you to make money. All of those people were there in a couple of weeks, and after a couple of weeks of the case, they were gone. Right? They didn't see it. There was nothing sexy about this story. There was there's nothing that they could really latch on to. This was the real deal here, and a lot of people, I think, they just were not ready for it. It was all supposed to be fun and games, and we're going to stand up against the government and blah blah blah, and all of a sudden it's like, oh well, this stuff really happens. There's real cases that you can look at and have a lot of questions about if this is a real killing, or if these people were killed. And we're not just talking about 3 random people. When you're talking about a child, when you start looking at what happened to that 5-year-old child, that's just like,
it's stuff of nightmares.
Yeah, it really is. And the fact that so many people are just willing to just move on and just give up and just shut down and just turn a blind eye to these simple things here. That's frustrating. To me, that's very frustrating. And I lost a lot of respect for a lot of people. But it was weird because right before all this happened, I was kind of questioning people and kind of going through my own spiritual journey, and I prayed about it. And I prayed about, God, if, get me away from these people if they're not real. And I'll tell you what, I found myself alone, except for Dan Innan and a couple other people. I was like, yeah, that's just, I'd rather research this with 4 or 5 real people than research it with, hundreds, thousands of millions of people that are just in it for their own gain and not in it for the right reason.
Yeah, and the ones that, really bother me a lot too are the ones who have such they know the case exists, but they really have no in-depth knowledge of anything, and then voice opinions and blame David, and it's like
solve the case. They have it solved.
Yeah, they've solved it
2
without
hours.
knowing it. Yeah, and I'm like, wow, okay, don't waste your time with me. Don't talk to me. Read the case, and don't expect me to give you all the answers all the time. Read it for yourself. Yeah. That's something I learned a long time ago. When you go out of your way to gather all the information to show somebody who says that they want to know an answer, but then they don't read it, they constantly question it, and then they deny the proof that you give them. It's like, don't even waste your time. Go away.
Yeah. Life is
That's
too short.
the most frustrating part.
Yeah, that's why I'm like going now, well, you know what? If you think I missed something, you do it. Why aren't you sending it in? Why aren't you contacting these people? If you think that and I'm not saying I do it all right. So if I have forgotten or I haven't done it in the way you think it should be done, then get off your lazy butt and you do it.
Yeah.
We've got our hands full here. We don't, we spend a lot of time on this, a lot of our own personal time. And like you said, Greg, we can't do it all. It's just too much. And,
a lot of people don't understand that we have families.
Right.
So we can't look at this case 24/7, although we have invested a lot of hours and a lot of time, and in some cases a lot of money in this case.
Yep.
And all we're asking is that we get fresh eyes to also be looking at these records, to also go through, and whether they share it, that's on them. But at least if we have people looking and offering help to answer our questions, we'd be so grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And to have just any answers, especially with these phone records, with the questions with the 00 or these weird numbers showing up, it would really be a godsend to have those answers for us.
Yeah.
So we can move on to something new and start dissecting that information.
Right.
Yes, I'm putting this up here. Page 1 of David's newest phone record. Help me understand items 1 through 4. That's all I need.
Okay.
Well, that's not all I need, but I need to start. I can't even move on to anything. Well, maybe this happened. Maybe I can't move on to anything with the phone records until I can understand that flow. So I'm trapped. Help me.
I know. And if somebody can help us understand, this will, I think, unravel a lot.
Yeah.
For everybody, not just us, but for the entire case.
I hope so.
And
all right,
just
good peeps.
Going back and rehashing, they only took 2 cell phones out of that house. Burner phones were not found in that house. And they went through everything. They searched it.
You're right. They went through everything.
Yeah, there were no burner phones and there were no landlines.
And there were no writings either that they didn't find, that they didn't go through, according
Correct.
to what they're saying.
Thank you. Correct.
Yes.
It's all
no
there.
magical journals.
No magical.
There you go.
No.
Mystical journals. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, unless it showed up like the bullet hole in the ceiling, No, not sure.
Hey, that's where they found that journal. The bullet was on top of the journal in the attic.
Now it makes sense.
And
Now
I think the burner was right there in the bullet hole.
There you go. It was attached to the trusses of the roof.
That's why they missed it. Because the Christmas tree was there, they couldn't see it.
They couldn't see it.
Couldn't look up in the attic.
Although they could open the door and see it right away when they went there, but it was the Christmas tree's fault.
Well, they could put their finger through it too. So maybe they put their finger through it, and that's why there's no burner phone. They burned it.
They pushed it through the attic.
Pushed it all through the attic and everything. But thankfully, we had two people or multiple people in the house who were looking in the house, and they found it.
Right, people who didn't, who weren't there with the people they said they were.
Yes, without them, we'd all be lost.
And who weren't friends.
There you go.
Yes, but somehow end up in their house, and didn't say how they got in.
No,
oh,
I don't know.
Didn't tell the police that they were there. No.
If Paleo ate the burner, maybe we should contact the vet and see if there was any in his poo.
I think Paleo might have changed the burner number.
That's it. Oh. Greg, you solved it. It was who forwarded all these numbers. That's it.
There we go.
Case solved.
There we go. Case solved.
All right, we're all in trouble.
Those joints too, just so you know. He was grounded. Oh gosh, okay, we gotta stop. I'm getting too snarky for my own good.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay, more serious, folks. We weren't being serious. We're being very snarky.
No,
yes,
but
yes,
you know,
we are.
Yeah, you can still take that out of context. You can twist it. And
they will. They'll go, this is what they said.
They're crazy. They went to a dark place and snapped. That's it. All right.
Now they're joking about the murders. Oh my gosh.
Pretty much.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay to accuse somebody of a double murder-suicide within a few hours, a few days, with no evidence, but, you know, it's not okay to question it. So let that be a lesson to both of you.
We should not be asking questions. We should not be looking any deeper. We need to take everything at face value.
Yeah, just go with whatever the group mentality says. Whatever the bullies say, believe it. That's it. Done.
There you go. No more heartache.
Life is good. Go back to life. Well, I think we're going to choose the other way. I think we're going to keep looking into this, you know, maybe another couple hundred videos and a couple hundred articles and, you know, just whatever we can do to keep this case going until we can get the real answers, right? Get this into the real hands of some people that can really help us, that can help get some answers. It can help, at the very least, to change this case to where it isn't, where people realize that David Crowley was never proven guilty. I think that's one of the biggest things that is getting missed here. That is the most important thing. Is from the very beginning, this has all been about proving David Crowley guilty. They don't have any evidence to prove David Crowley guilty, and in the end, they claim David Crowley is guilty.
Yep, and a dead man can't defend himself.
And they cannot prove a dead man guilty. And they know this. And they know this. All right. Any final words? Anybody?
Well, just thanks for doing this. And Sophia and Greg, you two have a great night.
All right. You too.
You too, Catherine.
Okay,
have a great night.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.